Welcome to the Connors and Ferris High School Sports Show. I'm Jeff DiVeronica. He's Steve Bradley. I got to do it the opposite way, Steve, if you noticed that last week. And joining us now, a Section 5 bowling interview. We don't have a lot of bowling on our program, but happy to have on one of the top bowlers. I'm going to guess in the state. You can't get much higher than this guy. Keaton Ostrowski. He's a Rush-Henrietta sophomore. And also his coach, Rush-Henrietta, Brian Usselman, joins us on our specialties Skype hotline. Guys, welcome to the show. We're going to start. Well, first of all, Steve, I remember, probably 15 years ago now, when Section 5 bowling, Brian might be able to tell us, how long did a Section 5 bowling, Monroe County bowling start? I mean, because it exploded. We were all like, wow, look at all the numbers.
Well, back in the 90s. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Brian. Yeah, you'll know the history. I was just going to chime in. I think it goes back farther than even that. I just remember Clover Lanes being just jammed.
Yeah, the city Catholic teams had teams up through the early 90s. And then Webster and Irondequoit got in, and Brighton. And then in the late 90s, Gates, Chili, and then the rest of Monroe County got in by 2000. And then the stuff at Clover, once it was centralized at Clover, I think that's when it hit big in the early 2000s. And then everybody had a team at that point.
Well, Keaton Ostrowski's having himself, it's quite an ascent over the last 3 years. Young man, we're going to ask about your progress and how you've gotten so much better. But just 3 years ago, you were averaging 206 pins per game. And now it's over 240, 240.9 up to the minute till you roll your next game. Keaton, you've rolled, you said 5 sanctioned 300 games. And then I love it. You said, how many other ones? And you said, quote, I've lost count. I guess, how did you get started in bowling, young man? And I guess, how have you gotten so good the last few years?
My family taught me when I was young, literally probably 3 years old, and I've just stemmed from there. I've done it ever since. I've done it leagues after leagues after leagues. I never took a break off, just kept on going. It was my life it still is every single day, my life.
But what about the game has you hooked, Keaton?
No, I think my unique style, it's two-handed, left-handed. It's different than everyone else. Not many people do it, and I want to perfect it. I want to do the best I can to do that, and I always look to be the best. That's what I strive for.
So describe for our audience what the two-handed left-handed, what does that mean? Because a conventional bowler is just three fingers in the hole, right?
So yeah, typically a bowler uses their left hand or right hand, and only their left hand or right hand. Me, I use two hands, and it's almost like double the power and double the revs. So it worked for me.
When did you start doing that?
I literally started doing that when I was 3 years old. It was just something that came natural to me. I didn't pick it up anywhere. It just came natural, and I've perfected it over time.
So, Brian, what was your impression of Keaton the first time you saw him, and when was that?
Well, I got back into coaching in 2019, and while Chris Daly was coaching the team in the teens, I would keep tabs on what was happening because I was, kind of jealous he was still coaching and I wasn't able to. And then I said, okay, what do we got this year? And he said, well, you've got a little lefty who could throw the ball pretty good. And I said, okay, because he was coming out of 7th grade at that point. And when I met him in 8th grade in the tryouts, there he goes. He was like, wind him up and watch this kid just run to the line and unleash a ball. And when I quit coaching in 2009, everybody was bowling one hand. Coaches didn't allow kids to bowl two-handed in practice. It was like, you can't do that. And sure enough, when our team when I got back in 2019, I had 4 kids on the team throwing the ball two-handed. And here he is, just as fast as he can go to the line and unleashing this high rev rate ball going down the lane. And first game he shoots in our tryouts was 300. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. He is as advertised. And then, he did great in the tryouts and he, he's been in lineup ever since.
So that gets you a spot on the team, the 300, the first game of tryouts.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, it set the path for a very good tryout that year.
You run up to how fast you sprint up to the lane and fire the ball?
Well, I used to, but I've made progress over time to slow myself down and be more consistent. But I think when I was a lot more faster, I was more inconsistent. Now that I've developed a rhythm, pace myself, I'm a lot more consistent.
Okay,
I
so
grew up in the Batavia area where bowling is a big deal. And my first job as a sports writer, one of the things I did at the end of the night, each night, was to take the bowling scores, look for the high scores, and sometimes track down people who bowled a 300 game or an 800 series. And Keaton, I know your first 300 came at the age of 11, and 300s are kind of like a hole in one. You know, there's always a story, there's always circumstances. What's the story of your first sanctioned 300 at age 11?
where were you? Who was there? We want to know what you were drinking. Was it soda, water? What were you drinking?
All right. Well, I'm not sure what I was drinking, but it was a father-son league. Sunday mornings with my father, Mark Veltz, and me, obviously. And I had a couple people there. I had a mentor, Scott Culp. He's an extremely good bowler in the community. And I had my mom, and obviously everyone else who was bowling that league. And I think my high score before that was 256. I've never had the first 8 strikes or first 7 strikes like that before. And I just was on my day. I was just doing my thing, and I just took it one step at a time. And it was something I would have never expected so early, but I was lucky enough to have it and experience it.
Well, we're going to
get to that.
Go ahead, Steve.
You get to that 10th frame, and what were your nerves like? I mean, you get to 8, you get to 9. Were you able to block it out? Were you thinking, take us back to that moment?
I was the only one bowling, and I've had this experience before. You can hear people breathing. You can hear a pin drop. It is nerve-wracking. And for my first experience, I didn't know what to expect. So I just tried my best to keep my composure and try my best. If I wasn't going to get it, I was going to be okay with it. I've never experienced something like that before. I was lucky enough.
Do you still get nervous in the 10th frame, or is it more adrenaline than nerves?
I definitely still get nervous, but I've learned to cope with that. I've learned thinking, like, what's the difference between the first frame and the 9th frame? It's a strike. It's just act like you've been there before and come in there with confidence and get the job done.
Come on, kid!
Brian, this young man, you meet him. He's unique style, unique success. He's improved by 40 points the last 2 years. He said it's through practice. In your mind, you've been bowling since you were 7 years old. What makes Keaton Keaton?
I think over the past couple of years, it's been a repetition. He repeats the same shot with the same delivery every time. And the growth that he showed over the past 2 years is becoming more versatile. I think that when he gets a tougher pattern, he knows, okay, I've got to bear down today. This is something that I've got to execute every shot to the best of my ability. And, he's also very intuitive and very cerebral when he's on the lanes. We talk, a lot during a bowling match, and we're talking about minor adjustments. Is it the speed? Is it the ball? Do I need to move a little bit to the left, to the right? Do I need to move my target? So he's consistently thinking. And I think one of the things that he's learned how to do is to try to be ahead of the change. Whether he needs to make the ball change, he's being more proactive than reactive as he's advanced to his old age of, 15. So I think that's one thing that's, I think he's beyond his years in terms of thinking on the lanes, and he has a lot of games under his belt to do all those thoughts. So one shot at a time, execute it, and then get ready for the next shot and use the previous shot to inform yourself for the next shot.
We are talking Rush-Henrietta bowling with standout Keaton Ostrowski and his coach, Brian Usselman. We'll take a quick break, come back, and I want to find about what happens when you get beat by your girlfriend on the lanes. Keaton, I want to find that out. I want to find out about your first name. I want to find out a lot more about you, young man. We'll take a quick break. You're watching the Connors and Ferris High School Sports Show on Rock Sports Now.
Looking for a used truck? Can you find one out of 350? At BobJohnsonAutoGroup.com, you'll find one. Love SUVs? 800 are waiting for you to take one home at BobJohnsonAutoGroup.com. Add 350 pre-owned sedans, and you've got a total of 1,500 used vehicles only at BobJohnsonAutoGroup.com.
Bob Johnson's got you right. Bob Johnson.
While we celebrate 140 years of serving our community, the kind of delicious joy that lasts a lifetime, we look forward to serving you for 140 more. With hardworking, wholehearted, passionate people who will help shape new memories for generations to come.
When it comes to workers' comp, things can change quickly.
The only way to make sure your rights are protected is to have a trusted, committed attorney on your side.
An attorney who has devoted their career to helping injured workers.
Someone to fight for the money and medical benefits you deserve.
The only person on your side
is the attorney at your side.
Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys.
The best three things here at McQuaid are definitely the sports, the brotherhood, and the service to community. I think that's a really big, important thing that McQuaid stresses, which is part of creating a better and great man. You definitely feel a connection with your fellow students here. It's being all guy school. You're able to relate to each other on a personal level, and everyone's very welcoming here with open arms and willing to be your friend.
Local McDonald's operators care about our local schools, teams, and student athletes. That's why they support the return of high school athletics in the Rochester area and around the state. See you before or after the big game at McDonald's. Welcome back, Section 5. Game on!
In these challenging times, our dedicated team at American Custom continues to provide top-quality installations to every customer. With guidelines and restrictions changing daily, we apply attention to every detail. You can trust our team to make sure the job is done right.
Welcome back to the Connors and Ferris High School Sports Show. Jeff, DiVeronica, and Steve Bradley with part 2 of Rush-Henrietta Bowling. We'll talk about some of the guys on the team that probably pushed Keaton a little bit, but it's Keaton Ostrowski, who's leading Section 5 with a 240 pin average, and his coach, Brian Usselman, joins us. It was mentioned in the story in the Democratic Chronicle that you're the leader for average in Section 5 by a lot, but they never said, like, what other guys average. What do other people average? Like, what's number 2 in Section 5 approximately? Brian, do you have any idea?
Keaton, you can help me out. Is it Braden from Fairport? Is he number 2 right now?
Yeah, I believe he's at a 233 or a 231.
Yeah, and let's see, number 3. There's a couple kids at like 225.
Oh, Matthew Carmestro,
right?
Bobby Richmond.
Bobby Richmond, yeah.
And Aaron Marion.
Yes, I think that's a top 5.
Yeah.
And I think Ryan Phillips is right on the outside of that.
Yes.
You said you started when you're 3 years old. You're averaging 240.9 right now. Don't want to shortchange you. You're a sophomore in high school. How far do you want to take bowling?
I'd of course like to take it to the pro level, but education is first, and I need to have a backup plan. But of course, I definitely want to bowl. It's something that's my life, and it's not something I can get rid of. So definitely want to. I would continue to do tournaments for as long as I can and just enjoy what I'm doing. But of course, education first.
Which bowlers do you like to watch, being a student of the game?
I actually like to watch Braden Maskley. I'd say he's one of my extremely good friends. Watching him grow as his style is amazing. I love him. He's my best friend, and I couldn't ask for more from him. We connect like 2 peas in a pod. I love it. I love watching.
Speaking of love, let's transition to the girlfriend question. Your girlfriend is a standout bowler for Greece, Athena. Her name is Haley Grabowski. And how did you meet? Did you meet? Did you meet on the lanes? And then who wins? Keaton, who wins?
Yeah. So we met on the lanes maybe 3 years ago, and everything sprouted from there. And we've grown to who we are today. But I'd say when we go against each other, it's a 50-50. Honestly, I mean, she's beaten me just as much as I've beaten her. The first couple times we went against each other, I think I beat her. But recently she's been beating me, and what can you do about it?
Hey guys, he's already figured out one of the great secrets of life is that the woman's always right? And that well done, young man. You got to figure it out. You are wise beyond your years, like Coach said. I got to ask you also about the name. It's not like your name Mike or Joe. Keaton is a very unique first name, and I'm wondering if you could give us, is there a story behind that?
Well, I actually really like my name. I rarely see my name, and I love it because it's so unique and it's just simple. I love it. I was originally going to be named Harrison, but my mom's fear was that my nickname was going to be Harry, and she didn't like that. So that was off the sheet. And then I think a coworker of my mom's suggested the name, and she loved it.
Now, comes to my mind, I'm thinking Harrison Ford, and Michael Keaton is one of my favorite actors. Is that the part of the process for your parents or no?
I don't think so. I think the name was just suggested, and my mom really liked it.
Go ahead, Steve.
Is there a nickname? I mean, if I'm there, it's like KO, or do you have a nickname?
KO, yeah. That's I think one of the chants on the team last year was "Way to go, KO," and that's stuck. Yeah. But yeah, really, it's just Keaton. But the simple stuff like the KO, I like that.
Coach, the other guys on this team, tell us about some of your other top bowlers. And I know you guys are off to a terrific start. You got the 11-2 record, and I guess what's the goal for this? We know what his goal is, to win the whole thing, sectionals and states. But well, as a team, what's your ceiling here for these guys?
I think that the Section 5 title is what we're looking for. There's 5 teams in Section 5 Class A that are distancing themselves from the competition: Rush-Henrietta, Fairport, Victor, Spencerport, and Hilton. Although Spencerport's in Class B, but all of those 5 teams, I think, are the favorites to win sectionals, and any of those 5 teams could win and represent Section 5 in the large school division at states. So that's our goal. We've been getting ready for that. We've got some great senior leadership. Jacob Shoemaker, Keaton Stollery, and Chris Stollery are fantastic role models for the younger guys. And our younger guys have been on the team for 3 years or 2 or 3 years. We've got some ninth graders who have been on the team for 3 years. So we have very, very strong veterans on the team who you wouldn't think are veterans, but they've been there for a while. And it's going to take 6 great games in 3 weeks to win that title. But we won the title in 2020. We were cut short, as Keaton can remember, from going to the state tournament. And our goal is to get back there. But it's going to take six strong games because the competition is fierce.
Brian, when you and Keaton were discussing just the averages earlier, 240 and 233.9 in the mid 220s. I mean, those are like very high averages, very high scores. Has the level of bowling in Section 5 improved dramatically? And if so, why and how?
I think a lot of it, yes, I agree. I think it has. When I left in 2009, the averages were not that high top to bottom. Right now, I believe the top 20 average is about 212. So that's pretty high. And I think a lot of it has to do with the kids are bowling year round now. I think 10, 15 years ago, they were not bowling during the summer. There wasn't as many tournaments outside of the Section 5 that the kids were bowling in. They're bowling in their morning league and their afternoon travel league and a couple tournaments here and there. But I think the idea of the junior gold tournaments that are nationwide draws that are making kids get better, and the fact is they're not shutting it down during the summertime. They're bowling year round, and I think repetition, it creates success.
We're talking Rush-Henrietta bowling on our specialties Skype hotline. I can tell from his lips, Steve Bradley has more to ask.
Well, Jeff, that to me, Brian's answer almost sounded like golf when we looked at some of the golf scores years ago and how the golf in the area has improved so much. And just building off of what Brian said for Keaton, do the other good bowlers in the area motivate you, inspire you, make you, not that you have to have somebody tell you you need to go practice today, but is that motivation that somebody else is working hard motivation for you?
Yeah, it's everything is motivation. I see averages, and it's about how hard you work and how bad you want it, and I do anything to become the best.
We talked about poise, right? Obviously, you have to have poise in those final moments, or actually throughout the whole match if you're going to throw all those strikes. But are you look like you're the kind of guy like would pump a fist if you're, are you an emotional guy when you get to 300 or when you get 9 strikes in a row? Or are you, if a pin runs across and kicks out another pin and gets you the strike, are you giving one of these, or are you even keel?
Kind of right in the middle. Sometimes, in my head's going 3,000 miles per hour. It's every thought that's imaginable.
Coach has something to add. I'm telling you, Coach, you got something to say. I can tell.
Yeah, you can tell when he throws a good shot. At least I can from behind, because he kind of gives it a little whirl like this, and I know that's like in poker, you've got to tell if you got a good hand when the shot looks good. The arm kind of goes like this, and I know, okay, he trusted that one, and he thinks it's going to bury. So
it's like the Tiger
that's what I think from. You pretty much, yeah, and that's what I've noticed over the past 2 or 3 years. But when he was in 8th grade, he was an 8th grader with a very senior team, and he was little compared to the rest of the guys. Not anymore. He's looking eye to eye because he's a sophomore now. So he didn't really get too animated. He let them take care of it, but now he's getting a little more, and he's bowling in the anchor spot. So he brings a little moxie. And that's a good thing.
Anytime you can use moxie in a sentence, I say do it all the time, guys.
That's a mic drop.
That's one of my favorite words. Well, Keaton, it was great to get to meet you. Looking forward to seeing your progression this year, next year, year after that, and then maybe even beyond into college. I know there's scholarships available, and it's been really exciting to watch over the last couple decades Section 5 bowling explode. Because we were initially, when we worked for the Democratic Chronicle, we were initially shocked at how popular it got so fast. And it speaks to what we always like to talk about, giving kids opportunity. And, sometimes teenagers get a bad rap about being lazy. And this is another great example to me, is like, if you give them an opportunity and to do something, they'll take advantage of it and run with it. And you guys did that. So there were people that came before you, but you're certainly a great torchbearer now for the sport. So Keaton Ostrowski, thanks for being on our show.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Coach Brian Usselman, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
For Steve Bradley and our producer, Joe Brott, Steve, I'll give you the final word.
That was fantastic. Just a lot of fun. And, thanks again for being with us, and love to talk bowling and shine the light on some of the sports that aren't always in the spotlight.
You've been watching the Connors and Ferris High School Sports Show on Rock Sports Now. Have a great week, everybody.